If two vehicles arrive to an uncontrolled intersection at the same time, A. The largest vehicle has the right of way. B. The car on the left has the right of way. C. The car on the left shall yield to the car on the right. D. The car on the right shall yield to the car on the left. C. The car on the left shall yield to the car on the right. If two vehicles arrive at the same time to an uncontrolled intersection, the driver on the left must yield to the driver on the right. The driver on the left may then proceed when it is safe to do so. Signs that are colored orange are: A. Work zone signs. B. Regulatory signs. C. School zone signs. D. Guide signs. A. Work zone signs. Highway work zones are established according to the type of work underway along the roadway. Signs in work areas are typically diamond-shaped, orange, have black letters or symbols, and serve as a warning that people are working on or near the highway. To prepare for anything coming up on the road ahead, you should: A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. B. Stare straight ahead at all times. C. Drive with your left foot resting lightly on the brake pedal. D. Maintain focus toward the middle of the road. A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. Your ability to handle dangerous traffic situations depends largely on searching for and identifying problems before meeting them. Looking far ahead of your vehicle does not mean you should simply stare at the center of the road. You need to continually scan the entire road, including the sides of the road. Drivers must yield to a pedestrian. A. Even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. B. Only when the pedestrian is in a crosswalk. C. Only if the pedestrian is on the same side of the road as the driver. D. If the pedestrian uses a hand signal to ask oncoming drivers to stop. A. Even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. Drivers must always yield to pedestrians in the street, even if they are crossing against a red light or are otherwise being careless.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Which of the following statements is true? A. A sudden change in weather calls for a change in driving. B. You should slow down when driving in rain and fog. C. Be particularly aware of vehicles coming up behind you in inclement weather. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If the weather changes suddenly, you will need to adjust your driving to adapt. Always slow down when driving in rainy or foggy conditions. Be especially aware of vehicles behind you that may be going too fast for conditions. A single broken yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates: A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. Yellow lines are used to separate traffic moving in opposite directions. Dashed lines indicate that drivers directly next to the line are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. This sign means: A. One-way traffic. B. Divided highway ends. C. Two-way traffic. D. Keep left. B. Divided highway ends. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that the divided highway is about to end. A bicyclist who doesn't obey traffic laws? A. Is in the right because bicyclists don't have to obey traffic laws. B. Can be ticketed. C. Will always receive a warning from law enforcement. D. Will have their bicycle impounded. B. Can be ticketed. All bicyclists have the same rights, duties, and responsibilities as drivers of motor vehicles. Motorists and bicyclists who do not obey traffic laws can be ticketed. This sign means A. Crossroad ahead. B. Flagger ahead. C. Lane ends. D. Turn right or go straight. A. Crossroad ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming intersection. On a freeway, you realize you missed your turn or exit. You should A. Make the turn quickly from your lane of travel. B. Stop and back up. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. D. Signal other drivers to stop so you can turn. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up, but go on to the next turn or exit where you can safely turn around. It is illegal to back up on a shoulder or a freeway. Coming to a complete stop at an intersection, yielding to cross traffic, pedestrians, and then proceeding through the intersection when the way is clear corresponds with A. A solid red light. B. A flashing yellow light. C. A solid green light. D. A flashing red light. Which of the following statements is true? A. Signal at least 100 feet before changing lanes to pass and ensure there is no oncoming traffic. B. Use your mirrors and look over your left shoulder to check your blind spot when passing to the left. C. When passing, wait until you can see both headlights of the passed car in your rearview mirror before returning to your original lane. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When passing, you must always signal at least 100 feet in advance of your lane change. Always check behind you in your mirrors and look over your shoulder to check your blind spot. Wait until you can see both headlights of the passed car in your rearview mirror before returning to your original lane. This sign means A. Reserved parking. B. Low shoulder. C. Slippery when wet. D. Winding road. A. Reserved parking. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign is posted in parking lots, designating reserved parking spaces for vehicles with a handicap sticker, tag, or license. To avoid being in a truck or bus driver's blind spot, you should A. Never pass them. B. Avoid driving alongside them and avoid tailgating. C. Flash your lights at them. D. Sound your horn. B. Avoid driving alongside them and avoid tailgating. Because a large vehicle, such as a truck or bus, has large blind spots to its sides and rear, avoid driving alongside such a vehicle and do not tailgate one. This sign means A. Multiple turn lanes. B. Two-way left turn. C. Left turn yield on green. D. Crossroad ahead. A. Multiple turn lanes. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign indicates that there are multiple lanes from which drivers may make a left turn. Drivers in the far left lane are required to turn left. A yellow and black diamond-shaped sign. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. B. Helps direct you to cities and towns ahead. C. Tells you about traffic laws and regulations. D. Tells you about road construction ahead. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. Warning signs, which tell you about conditions on or near the road ahead, are usually diamond-shaped with black symbols or words on a yellow background. This road sign means A. You are about to enter a one-way street the wrong way. B. School crossing ahead. C. Do not drive in this lane. D. Traffic turning left on the green light must yield to oncoming traffic. D. Traffic turning left on the green light must yield to oncoming traffic. This sign is used with a traffic signal to tell drivers that left-turning traffic does not have the right of way and must instead wait for oncoming traffic to clear. When you see this sign, it means A. There is an object on the roadway. B. Traffic is coming from the right. C. The road is curving sharply to the left. D. There is a merge point ahead. C. The road is curving sharply to the left. Chevron signs like this indicate that the road curves sharply in the direction indicated by the chevron, in this case, to the left. There may be several chevron signs placed throughout a curve. This road sign means A. A steep grade is ahead. B. You must turn left ahead. C. Do not enter. D. A four-way intersection is ahead. D. A four-way intersection is ahead. This sign warns that a four-way intersection is ahead. What is the only way to reduce your blood alcohol concentration, BAC? A. Drink coffee. B. Exercise. C. Allow your body time to get rid of the alcohol. D. Take a cold shower. C. Allow your body time to get rid of the alcohol. The only method that effectively reduces your BAC is to not drink alcohol for a period of time. Coffee, exercise, and cold showers cannot reduce your BAC or change the effects of alcohol. They can help you remain awake, but they cannot change your BAC or make you sober. Motorcycles are entitled to A. The bicycle lane. B. The same full lane width as other motor vehicles. C. Half the width of a lane. D. The width of the sidewalk. B. The same full lane width as other motor vehicles. Lane usage for the motorcyclist is critical. Motorcycles are entitled to the same full lane width as all other vehicles. This sign means A. Heavy traffic ahead. B. Do not enter. C. Railroad crossing. D. Yield. B. Do not enter. This sign means that it is not safe for drivers to enter the indicated road or driveway from their current direction. If you come across one of these signs, you should immediately turn around and drive a different way. When driving in fog. A. Use your parking lights. B. Use your low beams. C. Use your high beams. D. It makes no difference which lights you use. B. Use your low beams. You should use low beam headlights when driving in fog, rain, or snow. A flashing red light on a traffic signal means A. The same thing as a stop sign. B. The traffic signal is broken. C. You do not have to come to a complete stop. D. Driving conditions are dangerous. A. The same thing as a stop sign. A flashing red light means the same thing as a stop sign. If you encounter a flashing red light, you should come to a complete stop, yield to appropriate traffic and pedestrians, and only proceed when it is safe to do so. When entering a street from a driveway, you A. Must drive slowly to allow approaching vehicles and pedestrians time to get out of your way. B. Must honk your horn so approaching vehicles and pedestrians know to give you room. C. Must stop and proceed only when there are no pedestrians or vehicles approaching. D. Can disregard any pedestrians if there is no sidewalk. C. Must stop and proceed only when there are no pedestrians or vehicles approaching. Always stop before entering the roadway from a driveway and yield to any approaching vehicles or crossing pedestrians. The stop should be made before crossing the sidewalk area. Failure to stop is unlawful. When getting ready to change lanes, you should A. Check your side view mirror. B. Check your rear view mirror. C. Quickly turn your head to check for other vehicles. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before changing lanes, check your side and rear view mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Just before you begin moving into the other lane, quickly glance over your shoulder and check for any vehicles that may be in your blind spot. Many crashes are caused by A. Drivers traveling too fast for conditions. B. Drivers consistently checking their mirrors and blind spots. C. Drivers yielding the right of way. D. Drivers maintaining a 4-second following distance. A. Drivers traveling too fast for conditions. Many crashes are caused by drivers who are driving too fast for conditions. Always drive within the legal speed limits and decrease your speed anytime conditions are less than perfect. This sign means A. Farm machinery. B. Steep downgrade. C. Do not enter. D. Left turn yield on green. A. Farm machinery. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to potential farm machinery driving in the area. You may cross solid yellow lines. A. To pass traffic moving in the same direction. B. During daylight hours only. C. At any time. D. When making turns. D. When making turns. As a general rule, broken traffic lines may be crossed but solid lines may not. Solid yellow lines may be crossed only when the driver is making a turn. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Intersection ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. D. Highway curves ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. This sign indicates that there is merging traffic entering from the right. When driving in bad weather, drivers should A. Increase their speed to reach their final destination more quickly. B. Decrease their following distance. C. Increase their following distance. D. None of the above. C. Increase their following distance. When driving on wet roads, drivers should increase their following distance. Always signal when A. Changing lanes. B. Pulling into or out of a parking space. C. Pulling into traffic from a parking area or alley. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Your turn signals should always be used when you make any movement to the left or right. You should use your signal when pulling into traffic from a curbside parking space, moving into a new lane, or passing another vehicle. This sign means A. Yield. B. Crossroad ahead. C. Keep right. D. Yield ahead. A. Yield. Traffic signs with 3 sides of equal length warn drivers to slow down when approaching an intersection and to be prepared to come to a complete stop to yield to other drivers or pedestrians. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. When faced with an oncoming car to the left and a bicyclist to the right, you should A. Pull onto the shoulder. B. Split the difference. C. Let the car pass and then pass the bike. D. Pass the bike quickly. C. Let the car pass and then pass the bike. When there is more than one potential hazard on the road, you should ensure that you only have to deal with one of them at a time. For example, when there is a bicyclist on the right that you want to pass and an oncoming car to the left, you should not try to squeeze between both at the same time. Instead, let the oncoming car pass, and then pass the bicyclist. A red and white triangular sign at an intersection means A. Slow down if an emergency vehicle is approaching. B. Look both ways as you cross the intersection. C. Always come to a full stop at the intersection. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop if necessary. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop if necessary. A triangular red and white yield sign means that you must decrease speed as you approach an intersection and yield the right of way to any vehicles or pedestrians in the intersection. You must be prepared to stop if conditions require it. Taking drugs along with alcohol. A. Increases the risk of causing a crash. B. Is no more dangerous than consuming alcohol by itself. C. Lessens the effect of alcohol on your ability to drive. D. Has no effect on your general driving ability. If you see this sign, you A. Must not pass another vehicle. B. May pass a slow-moving vehicle if you can do so quickly. C. May pass if you know the road ahead. D. May pass, but only at night. A. Must not pass another vehicle. Regulatory signs are white, rectangular signs with black markings. Drivers must obey the instructions posted on all regulatory signs. Where this sign is posted, it is prohibited for drivers to pass one another. When approaching a steady green traffic light, drivers should a. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. B. Stop if a police officer is nearby. C. Treat the intersection like a four-way stop. D. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. A. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. When approaching an intersection with a steady green traffic light, yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk and vehicles still in the intersection. You may continue driving, but should approach the intersection at a speed that will allow you to slow down and stop if the light changes before you get there. This sign means A. No turn on red. B. Narrow bridge. C. Yield ahead. D. T intersection. A. No turn on red. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign is posted at traffic signals where turning right on a red light is not permitted. When changing lanes, you should A. Rely on your mirrors. B. Begin signaling as you move into the next lane. C. Signal at least 500 feet before your lane change when driving on residential streets. D. Always check your blind spot. D. Always check your blind spot. Other cars and motorcycles are often hidden in a vehicle's blind spot, so be sure to glance over your shoulder before you begin a lane change. Begin signaling 100 feet before changing lanes or turning in a residential area. Signal 5 seconds in advance when changing lanes on a freeway. This road sign means A. Keep right. B. Keep left. C. Pass with caution. D. No passing. A. Keep right. This sign indicates that a divided highway begins ahead. The road splits into two one-way roadways separated by a median or divider. You must keep to the right. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or using a guide dog, you should A. Slow down and be prepared to stop. B. Take the right of way. C. Proceed normally. D. Drive away quickly. A. Slow down and be prepared to stop. When driving near a blind pedestrian who is carrying a white cane or walking with a guide dog, you must slow down, yield the right of way, and then proceed with caution. Be prepared to stop your vehicle in order to prevent injury or danger to the pedestrian. At night, it is hardest to see A. Road signs. B. Pedestrians. C. Other motorists. D. Street lights. B. Pedestrians. Compared to signs and other roadside objects, pedestrians are hardest to see at night. Who is required by law to wear a seat belt while in a moving vehicle? A. All occupants. B. Only the driver. C. Only occupants under the age of 18. D. No one. A. All occupants. In the state of Indiana, all occupants of a vehicle that is equipped with seat belts must use the seat belts while the vehicle is in motion. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should A. Speed up. B. Go the same speed. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. D. Change lanes. C. Slow down to allow room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete the pass easily. When the driver behind you wants to pass, you should slow down so that there is enough room in front of your vehicle for the other driver to complete their pass. This will allow them to complete the passing maneuver in less time and more easily. As a pedestrian, you should A. Always insist on the right-of-way over a vehicle when using a crosswalk. B. Never enter a street or crosswalk when vehicles are approaching. C. Enter a crosswalk at any time because it is the vehicle driver's responsibility to stop. D. Use crosswalks only if they are convenient. You are driving at night and another vehicle is approaching from the opposite direction. Your headlights? A. Should be on their high beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. C. Should be off. Use your parking lights. D. May be on either their high or low beam setting. B. Should be on their low beam setting. Do not use your high beam headlights when approaching or following another vehicle at night. Switch to the low beam setting to ensure the safety of everyone on the road. A driver entering interstate traffic from an entrance or acceleration ramp. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. B. Has the right of way. C. May force their way into traffic. D. Can assume that other drivers will change lanes to make room. A. Should yield to drivers already on the interstate. If you are on an entrance or acceleration ramp and are entering interstate traffic, you should yield to drivers already on the interstate highway. Merge safely into traffic when you are able to do so. Your tire blows out while you are driving. You should A. Slam on your brakes. B. Hold your steering wheel tightly and slow to a stop. C. Keep driving normally. D. Turn on your emergency flashers and continue driving. B. Hold your steering wheel tightly and slow to a stop. If you experience a tire blowout, do not immediately apply the brakes. Grip the steering wheel firmly and steer to remain in your traffic lane. Reduce your speed gradually by releasing the accelerator and staying off the brakes. Once you are moving very slowly, apply the brakes lightly and pull off the road into a safe area. When driving near heavy trucks, other drivers and highway users must make allowances for A. The increased stopping distance required by large vehicles. B. The decreased stopping distance required by large vehicles. C. The decreased noise of larger vehicles. D. The increased speed of larger vehicles. A. The increased stopping distance required by large vehicles. When driving near heavy trucks, other drivers and highway users must make allowances for the increased stopping distance required by the large vehicles. Drivers of smaller vehicles should remain in locations where they can be seen by the driver of the large vehicle and where their view of traffic is not blocked by the vehicle.